Now at 9, plans for Souls Harbor and Joplin to relocate. It's going to hear where and why.
Another round of migrants bust out of Texas have arrived in Washington, D.C. I'm Casey Siegel at the U.S.-Mexico border. We've got that story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Albee. A Parsons, Kansas man is facing life in prison with parole after being convicted on 2 child sex crimes. Jared Bybee was convicted under Kansas Jessica's law. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of aggravated criminal sodomy. The crimes involved 2 victims, both younger than 10. Under Jessica's law, Bybee faces life in prison with a minimum of 25 years for each count before being eligible for parole. Sentencing is set for September 23rd. A Joplin man has drowned in Table Rock Lake. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says 52-year-old Mark Williams was in a single-person kayak and was reported missing by relatives. This afternoon, his body was discovered by a fisherman about a half-mile from Point 26. 3 people are dead after a house fire in northeast Oklahoma happened early this morning on South 600 Road in Fairland. According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm, and Explosives, firefighters arrived to find a fully engulfed fire. After extinguishing the blaze, crews found 3 bodies inside the home, 2 women, 1 man, all over the age of 40. The ATF is investigating at the scene because the fire happened on Indian land, which is federal. No word on the cause of the fire. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now. Calm but cool evening.
Yeah, at the very least, we're not going as cold tonight as where we were this morning, Jordan. In fact, let me pop up the numbers for you. Kind of a light freeze officially with Joplin bottoming out at 32. Everyone else, a really good frost this morning. But thankfully, the sunshine and that wind got us back into the 60s this afternoon. Nothing on the radar. We weren't expecting anything to pop up all day and all evening long, but you can see signs of cloud cover building out west. That's ahead of our next storm system that is going to really shake things up. Maybe potentially by tomorrow afternoon and going into tomorrow evening for sure. But 51 is where we'll bottom out eventually during the overnight. Maybe some scatter storms during the day. These shouldn't be potent, Jordan, before highs top out near 71, but I want to keep an eye on storms for tomorrow night. We'll touch base on what those might do for us here in a few.
Nick, thanks as always. The Joplin Homeless Shelter is looking to expand, but first, they'll need to work with the city. KOM's Bronte Sorosky has more on how Souls Harbor is looking to expand its services and the next steps they're taking to make this all happen.
Souls Harbor, a homeless shelter in Joplin, is looking to expand.
We want to build something that's really nice, something that's going to enhance the neighborhood, and something when people go by say, you know, we're really proud to have that in our neighborhood.
Shelter Executive Director Diana Gurley says they've been looking to move for years, but first they'll need to go through the city.
We're going to have some city council meetings. We're going to have to be going through some zoning because it is not zoned for us at this point.
If approved, the shelter is looking to take over a space on Junction Street.
It was this property operating as an emergency worming shelter that helped bring attention to the fact that this would actually be the perfect location and the perfect property for the new Souls Harbor.
Josh Shackles is the director of The Next Step, a nonprofit aimed at getting those experiencing homelessness to take the next step in their lives, finding housing, employment, or proper identification. He's also helping Gurley look into the property with the hopes that it can get more services to even more people.
Well, we're hoping to be able to extend some services to those that are in their late teenage that are homeless, that we don't really have a place right now. And we really want to give our families somewhere that they can live as a family unit rather than being separated the way they are now.
Souls Harbor is also enlisting the help of the Downtown Joplin Alliance.
We have connected them with some people who are interested in possibly purchasing their buildings, which is a key for them kind of to be able to find another location. And, you know, of course, from our perspective, we don't really want buildings sitting empty either.
Gurley says the shelter's next step is to go out into the community and ensure they feel comfortable with the shelter potentially moving nearby in the first place. In Joplin, Bronte Sorosky, KOAM News.
Gurley says if the shelter is able to move to a bigger space, she hopes it's going to bring a new awareness about people who experience homelessness every day. Pitt State today broke ground for a $7 million project in the university's simulation hospital. It's over at McPherson Hall, home of the Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing. The project is going to include a roughly 10,000 square foot addition, plus targeted renovations to the existing building. Among the highlights include control rooms, a debriefing room, a waiting area, also a study area.
It's very, very important for the learning and the adaptation of nursing. As we have seen over the past few years, we just have to go with the flow in this healthcare industry, and being able to just immerse yourself into a clinical experience using our clinical judgment skills and just overall prioritizing what's important to us in an assessment environment.
The new facility is going to accommodate 120 students. That's up from the current 90. Funding comes from private gifts. Pitt State campus was extra busy today. Hundreds of high school students were there competing in the Kansas State High School Activities Association Regional Large Ensemble Festival. They represented 15 schools from across the area.
Kids can get together and make music. It's, you know, what's joy to them and joy to me. It gives them a break. It gives them a release from their day-to-day schoolwork, and they absolutely love it.
Now, music wasn't the only discipline on display today. About 450 students were on campus for Science Day competitions. In a little over a month from now, Title 42 is going to end. This was a policy put in place during the Trump presidency to allow U.S. border officials the power to prohibit anyone illegally trying to come into the country or people who pose a health risk from previous travels. The ending of this policy has many questioning the Biden administration. Fox News senior correspondent Casey Stiegel has more from the U.S.-Mexico border.
A second migrant bus from Texas arrived in Washington, D.C. early Thursday morning, all courtesy of Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We're here under conditions with the cell phone. We have to send photos and report ourselves. Yes, every Wednesday.
14 migrants from Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Colombia stepped off the bus steps from Union Station. Last week, Abbott announced he planned to send all migrants who arrived in Texas to Washington as a form of protest against the Biden administration ending Title 42 next month. The cancellation comes as several state officials say they're overwhelmed with the amount of immigrants being let into the U.S.
When Title 42 goes away, it's only going to get even worse than it is now, and everyone knows it.
The surge of migrants wasn't the only thing plaguing border states this week.
We're seeing with these unnecessary inspections of trucks transiting ports of entry between Texas and Mexico are significant delays.
For several days now, truckers on the Texas-Mexico border shut down the nation's #1 inland port, protesting inspections ordered by Governor Abbott. The bridge connects Mexico to South Texas, and more produce crosses there than any other land port in the U.S. Experts warned consumers would suffer with a shortage of produce on shelves and higher prices unless the normal flow of trucks resumes. On Wednesday, an agreement was reached with the governor of Nuevo León. The Mexican governor says they've agreed to step up security on their side of the river in exchange for stopping those secondary truck inspections. That's the latest from Eagle Pass, Texas. Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another four-state hero. Kendall Ashford served in the U.S. Navy Reserve, a native of Iola, Kansas. Ashford was in Japan, also the Philippines, and Guam. We are proud to thank and salute Kendall Ashford. He's tonight's four-state hero. Nick Kelly's next with a complete look at the forecast, and later the Joplin High School baseball team trying for a 3-0 start to conference play against Branson. We're going to have those highlights in sports.
It was good that we got the sun back in action for today, considering the cold start that we had this morning. In fact, after we saw early morning highs the other day in the upper 60s to near 70, we cratered into the lower to middle 30s this morning. A light freeze for a good number of you, and certainly a hefty frost for a lot of us. Fortunately, though, look at that. We went back at least into the lower to middle 60s before the afternoon was all said and done. But rain chances are lining up. I could see maybe some scattered storms getting going tomorrow afternoon, but I want to watch for a chance for some strong, maybe severe storms tomorrow evening and night, and then maybe some thunderstorms early Saturday morning. Rain chances Easter Sunday, and then another system sticking with Doug's pattern by next Tuesday and Wednesday. So plenty of rain chances still seem to line up, but at least we're looking good right now. Still mostly clear up top at 7th and range line, 52 and Joplin with the south wind at 7 miles per hour. We have seen temperatures drop off quite a bit after we got past sunset about an hour or so ago, and quickly in some spots. 51 is Stockton and Carthage. While a lot of us are in the 50s, we're still trying to hold on to some spots near 60, especially down near Welch and Miami. But in general, we're going to not drop off as much as we did this morning, because even though that south wind is lightened up at 5 to 10, it's going to pick up throughout the course of the night. And that's because of our changing weather setup. Nothing really going on right now. Building cloud cover out west is due to a couple of systems headed our way. First, at the surface, we got a cold front to the north. That will be something to keep an eye on tomorrow night. But this warm front to the south, even though it's a good ways away, it's going to race in here tomorrow afternoon. And couple all of that with a couple upper lows for upper level support. That is going to bring in a chance for some thunderstorms, and again, our strong to possible severe threat, mainly a low severe threat, for mainly the southern parts of the viewing area. I want to keep an eye on the potential for strong to severe storms from about 5 o'clock at the earliest tomorrow evening up until about midnight as we go into the overnight. I'm not too concerned about a tornado threat here with the way things are setting up, but if we can still get the atmosphere to destabilize tomorrow afternoon, gotta keep an eye out for large hail, high wind, and some heavy rainfall. Again, though, we're good for the rest of the evening and going into your Friday morning. I think we'll be dry during the morning. The future track wants to pop a few showers up, but I think we're, again, dry during the morning, but I think it's in the afternoon as the warm front comes through first. That's when we could see some scattered storms, but they're going to be elevated. They're not going to be severe. As far as temperatures go, despite all of that wants to take place during the start of the day, I think we'll still go from 51 in the morning, 64 by noon, and highs are 71. Then, here's 9 o'clock. The future track still wants to paint some of these scattered storms clipping our southern counties. These are the ones I want to watch out for a severe threat, and then continued rain chances going into Saturday morning. So all in all, areas that can see quite a bit of rainfall could pick up anywhere from 1/10 to about an inch, maybe 1.5 inches, depending on how that heavy rain tracks and sets up across the region. So I gave Friday an alert day just for the chance of the scattered strong to severe storms tomorrow evening. Still mild tomorrow with highs near 71, 60 on Saturday. But another wave, Jordan, wants to leave us chilly, cloudy, and kind of rainy for Easter Sunday with highs around 53. We're dry Monday, and then storms again Tuesday and Wednesday.
Had me nervous, Nick Kelly, talking about tomorrow being Monday. Come on now. Come on.
We got to get through the weekend first.
It's true. Nick, thank you so much. See you in a little bit. A Holy Thursday or Maundy Thursday tradition is observed at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. The ceremony of the washing of the feet reflects when Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. This year, a Latin patriarch of Jerusalem conducted the ritual for faithful Catholics who are returning to the Holy Land after a 2-year lull from the pandemic. Coming up, trying to answer the question, why?
Frank James makes his first court appearance as investigators zero in on a possible motive behind the Brooklyn subway shooting. I'm Brian Yennis in Brooklyn. I'll have that story coming up.
The Brooklyn subway shooting suspect faced a judge today, several days after he shot several people allegedly in the worst attack in years inside the New York City Transit. 62-year-old Frank James is going to be held in permanent detention as officials continue to find a motive behind this horrific event. Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis has more.
Alleged Brooklyn subway shooter Frank James making his first court appearance Thursday, several blocks from the site of Tuesday's mass shooting at the 36th Street subway station in Sunset Park. The 62-year-old will be held in permanent detention pending his upcoming trial. James faces one count of committing a terrorist or violent attack against a mass transportation system. Prosecutors say the suspect's actions present a severe and ongoing threat to the community. If convicted, James could spend the rest of his life behind bars. His defense attorney confirmed reports that James turned himself in to police, and she requested he get a fair trial.
He called Crime Stoppers to help. He told them where he was. Initial press and police reports in cases like this one are often inaccurate.
The manhunt for James was extensive, lasting nearly 30 hours, spanning across multiple states. Law enforcement officials executed a search warrant at a storage unit and residence associated with the gunman in Philadelphia. The hunt for James ended Wednesday in Manhattan's East Village neighborhood. Prior to this week's attack, James had nearly a dozen prior arrests in New York and New Jersey dating back to the early 90s. James's defense attorney requested that her client receive a psychiatric evaluation. This as prosecutors are expected to zero in on a series of social media videos posted by James, which depict him as someone who is obsessed with violence, bigotry, and race. In Brooklyn, New York, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Still ahead, trying to figure out the junk situation in space.
The Pentagon is working with the private sector to make spaceflight safer by tracking space junk. I'm Evan Brown in Miami. I'll have that story straight ahead.
Between SpaceX, Blue Origin, telecommunication companies, and the military, space is getting crowded these days. But what happens to all the junk left behind? Fox's Evan Brown answers that question in the latest edition of our Fox on Tech series.
The public and private sectors are stepping up their presence in outer space, with the number of launches skyrocketing in recent years. But all that space action is creating a new problem: space junk. Lots of it.
Space debris is becoming more and more part of the fabric, of space today.
Right now, there are more than 23,000 discarded objects bigger than 10 centimeters and 500,000 smaller than that to keep tabs on, and that's where SAIC comes in. The government technology contractor runs the world's first space debris tracking system, spacetrack.org. Now, when commercial operators or the U.S. government puts objects in space, they're registered, so there's a catalog of exactly what's up there.
It becomes that much more important that we understand where things are, that we understand how we navigate around them, so that we can create the highways and byways, if you will, to have a safe experience for everyone doing business in space, whether it be the government, whether it be our commercial partners, or whether it be the consumer.
SpaceTrack is currently monitoring about 5,600 payloads and some 38,000 other objects in our vicinity. The information is universally accessible to promote the peaceful use of space worldwide, with SAIC hoping their program can help spacefaring nations leave the conflicts back on Earth.
We're using our abilities in space to drive a more diplomatic approach and really be forward-leaning in how we're executing our mission.
And lawmakers are paying attention as well. The Senate Armed Services Committee says space debris is a national security threat. In Miami, Evan Brown, Fox News.
Next, Cadbury showing off some serious skill for Easter. Gonna hear, look at that. How many candy bars are part of this really big egg? You're not gonna find this Easter egg for sale, unfortunately, though I don't know, it probably would be expensive. Two chocolate artisans from the Cadbury World Attraction in England have created an enormous creation. Details too, it's a creamy sculpture made up from 889 chocolate bars. It shows a soft spring landscape full of small leaves, flowers, grass, and fences. Two bunnies, an owl, and the fox inside the scene were carefully handcrafted by the chocolatiers. The impressive egg is going to be put on view in Cadbury World's chocolate making zone until the end of April. Cadbury makes me think of my favorite Easter treat, those Cadbury eggs. Not that big, the Cadbury eggs that have either cream or caramel in them. Caramel are my favorites, but man, those are good. 30 more minutes news, weather, and sports coming away. An event in Joplin tonight meant to raise awareness of sexual assault. Also, going to meet this year's Teacher of the Year in Joplin. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and tonight there was a rally to end sexual assault. Alpha Sigma Alpha at MSSU hosted Take Back the Night. Women and men shared stories. There was also a candlelight vigil. The mission was simple but important: to spread awareness.
We try to show support for them, always be supportive of them and their stories, and our belief is that you will always believe the survivor. Even if you are not sure of anything that is happening, you always believe the survivor and you do their best to help them in any way that you can.
Tonight's event was held at MSSU's Justice Center auditorium. A retirement party for Joplin Regional Airport Manager Steve Stockham. Stockham has been airport manager for 31 years. There was success during that time. One example, a new airport was built. There were also challenges. Back in 2016, the state auditor said the airport budget should be watched more closely. Also noting the airport had a problem with collecting money from tenants renting hangars. But today was a day for Stockham to reflect.
When you've done something that you've cared about for over 30 years, obviously you want to know that it's going to be taken care of, you know that it's going to continue down the road, and I think that the staff and the team that's here will take good care of things.
Stalkham is going to be a consultant for Olson in Joplin, an engineering firm. All right, many four-staters are familiar with this mural that was at the corner of 6th and Main in Joplin. I Am Joplin, it was called. Included pictures of people, as we're seeing right there, holding signs that showed strength and courage, different messages, particularly in the aftermath of the Joplin tornado. That mural is now gone. The Downtown Joplin Alliance says it was just getting too deteriorated. The 52 panels that were part of the mural are going to be auctioned off at the Empire Market May 7th. Proceeds will go towards a new revolving artist project where the I Am Joplin mural was located. Joplin School District honored its Teacher of the Year this afternoon. Congratulations to Julie Pagan. She teaches special ed at Soaring Heights Elementary. Pagan was surprised to learn she won this year's award.
I am really overwhelmed and in shock. I did not expect this at all. I work hard every day, but never expected anything back from it. So I'm very overwhelmed.
Well, that's neat. Pagan is going to be nominated for the Missouri Teacher of the Year. She'll also receive a $500 check at an upcoming school board meeting. The Ukrainian military is digging in ahead of a Russian offensive in the east expected to kick off any day now. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has more from Ukraine.
It's a big blow to the Russian military. Ukrainian forces say they hit the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet with 2 Neptune missiles on Thursday, badly damaging the cruiser Moskva, forcing the entire crew to evacuate, thought to be around 500 people. Moscow claims the evacuation was due to a fire that started on board, but American officials say that's not likely.
They've had to kind of choose between 2 stories. One story is that it was just incompetence, and the other was that they came under attack, and neither is a particularly good outcome for them.
The attack on the Moskva comes as Ukrainian forces dig in for what's expected to be a major Russian offensive in the east. Shelling of cities in the region has been relentless, and officials here say they need more help from the west to relieve the pressure.
If Ukraine doesn't receive all necessary weapons within days, not weeks, that will mean that more people, more civilians will be killed.
The White House says it's already responding, pointing to the $800 million weapons package announced Wednesday, which the Pentagon claims is specifically tailored to the type of flat open land fighting expected in the Donbass region in the coming weeks.
It lends itself well to mechanized warfare, and so artillery, rocket fire, short-range missiles, those are going to be the kinds of weapons that are key in this fight.
The Russians are also accusing Ukraine of launching airstrikes into their territory near the border. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
A bit later, why many medical facilities nationwide are having a hard time filling EMT positions.
After quite a cold start this morning, it was nice to see temperatures finally rebound thanks to a good south wind throughout the day, along with mostly sunny skies. If you remember yesterday, we had our highs in the day early in the day. Early morning highs back on the other day, upper 60s to near 70 degrees. Then we dipped into the 40s, a little rebound to the 50s yesterday afternoon, but kind of a light freeze for a lot of us, if not a good frost, with lows around 32 this morning. Then we catapulted back into the lower to middle 60s. I do think we'll still turn mild for tomorrow, despite rain chances looming and maybe some possible strong to severe storms to talk about for tomorrow. In the meantime, though, 7th and range line, we're still looking good. Clear skies up top, 52 degrees with the south wind at 7. The humidity starting to pick back up at 43%. Lower to middle 50s across our corners of Kansas and Oklahoma. Missouri rather, down in Oklahoma. Some of you are still trying to hold on to your 60 degrees. Thankfully this time around, even though the south breeze earlier today at 5 to 15 has died down as we start the late night hours, this is going to be our saving grace. The wind will pick back up throughout the night and cloud cover will pick up. So we don't have to worry about a cold start for the morning ahead, but it will be a bit cool with mid 40s to about the lower 50s across much of the region. Nothing happening throughout the course of the day and certainly throughout this evening so far, but I got a cold front to the north and a warm front to the south. The warm front's going to come in first and make sure that our south wind stays in place and we turn mild again for tomorrow. But if I want to back up here and show you the upper level setup, I've got two upper level lows. The first one wanted to come in and change things up starting for tomorrow. Then that segues to our chance for some strong to low grade severe storms, especially for the southern parts of the viewing area, say from US 400 and I-44 south. I want to keep an eye on those potential storms between 5 o'clock tomorrow evening and midnight going into Saturday morning. I don't think we're going to get a lot of these thunderstorms by the time we get into the evening, but the ones that can fire up if we can get there. Large hail, heavy rain, high winds. Those are the biggest issues that I want to keep an eye out for, certainly as the day rolls along. But we'll just deal with mostly cloudy skies picking up throughout the course of the night. We're dry to start the morning out, but you can see how we're in the mid-40s to about 50 degrees. I think we're dry during the morning hours, though. But as we get into the afternoon, as that warm front comes in first, we could see some scattered rain and thunderstorms try to develop for parts of the area. I do not expect those to be severe. But again, that increasing south wind with the passing warm front will get us from 51 in the morning, 64 by noon, highs near 71. Then, here's 8 o'clock. You can see some scattered storms popping up in our southern counties and maybe some more potent storms to keep an eye on as well. Up until about midnight, that is going to be the chance for any strong to severe storms. And if we don't get anything severe, some of the storms could push out quite a bit of rainfall, half an inch to maybe an inch and a half at the heaviest. However, that's the first wave. The second one comes in for Easter Sunday, and unfortunately, it's got periods of rain and a lot of cloud cover to keep us chilly and damp for Easter Sunday. 71 tomorrow. The alert day is out for the storm chances tomorrow evening. Then we're drying out throughout the day Saturday. 53, rain chances Sunday, Jordan. We're dry but chilly Monday, and then additional rain and storms next Tuesday and Wednesday.
71 degrees, though. I'll take that.
Yeah, well, it'll certainly be mild tomorrow for sure.
Nick Kelly, thank you. Coming up in sports, Joplin High School hosts its annual varsity track and field invitational, plus Frontenac baseball aiming to stay undefeated in a CNC showdown with Riverton. Jacob Leonard joins us with that and more next.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas are 17-7 in the MIAA entering the night. Now that puts them in second place in the league, trailing only the 23-1 Central Missouri Mules. Now the Gorillas get their shot at the Mules this weekend, opening a 3-game series in Warrensburg tonight. Now this one is final. Pitt State falls 7-1. Mason Hartman goes 3 for 4 with the lone RBI of the night for the Gorillas. Missouri Southern baseball also on the field tonight, on the road for their series opener against Newman. The Lions drop this one 16-9. Tragan Parker goes 3 for 4 in the game with 2 doubles and 4 RBIs. The Pittsburgh Purple Dragons are 3-3 in their first 6 games of the spring. Now, all 6 of those games have been road games for the Purple Dragons. Tomorrow night, Pittsburgh gets to play at home for the first time this season, welcoming in SEK rival Fort Scott. Now, this is the second meeting of the season between the two teams. The Tigers topped the Dragons 11-4 in their first meeting last week. So Pittsburgh is excited for the chance to even up the series and do it in their first game at JC Ballpark.
We love it. You know what I mean? There's not really many better places to play a baseball game, you know, especially when the weather's nice out and you got a ton of people there. So it just always has a different energy to it. And, you know, being the first one and a little bit further into the season, and I think it's supposed to be nice tomorrow, I have a feeling it's just going to have a lot of energy to it.
Local baseball action today, 5-0 Frontenac, trying to stay perfect in a doubleheader against Riverton. Game 1, Raiders up 1. They blow it open in the second inning. Mario Mangini hammers it all the way to the wall in right center. Here comes Logan Myers. Alex Williams right behind him. And check this out, Mangini all the way around for the inside the park home run. Makes it 7-3 Raiders, but they're not done. Peyton McDonald lifts this one high and deep to left. Burns the left fielder out there. Brings Colin McCartney home. McDonald in there for a triple. Now still in the second, Caston Fields lines one out to left. Lane Sullivan scores. Listen, 13 runs on 13 hits in the second inning alone for the Raiders. They take game 1 over Riverton 19-4. In game 2, Raiders try to make it a sweep. Much closer game, but Frontenac wins that one as well, 6-1. The Raiders are now 7-0 to start the season. On the Missouri side, the Joplin Eagles have a big one at home tonight. The Eagles host the Branson Pirates, who are 11-4 in their first 15 games. Joplin trying to knock off the Pirates and get to 3-0 in the COC. And down 2-1 in the first, Tyler Schumann Pops it up to the right side. Sun is brutal out there, man. Ball gets down. All 3 runners on base score. Eagles go up 4-2 after 1. Moving ahead to the 3rd, Justin McReynolds up. Turns and puts this one in the left field corner. Kyler Stokes hustles around 3rd to score. RBI double for McReynolds adds to the Joplin lead. And later in the same inning, the Sun continues to play a factor here. Schumann to right. Again, the outfielder loses it. Another run scores. Joplin knocks off Branson 6-2 with that 4-run first inning, jump-starting the day.
We gave up 2 runs early, and our guys didn't panic, and we found a way to get some base runners on. And anytime you're playing here, that sun's tough this time of year and this time of day, and we were able to get some guys on and take advantage of some things and find a way to put some runs up early. And it takes a little bit of the edge off after they scored 2 first. So I think anytime you can answer, you're going to feel a little bit better about it. And to go get 4 was huge.
Joplin High School hosts its annual Varsity Track and Field Invitational tonight, featuring competitors from both Southwest Missouri and Southeast Kansas. Our very own Danny Terzer was there and has a few highlights from tonight's action.
Joplin's Donovan Fowler wins 2 events. Here he is in the long jump, shades on and everything. His first jump of the day is his best. Fowler wins with a mark of 23 feet 7 inches.
I really just want to come out because I knew a lot of my family and friends were going to come out to support, and I just really wanted to make them happy. Didn't get 24 today, but 23.7, that's not bad for a decent meet. I definitely feel like I'm on track with the right coaching staff. I think amazing things are going to happen by state.
On the track, Cameron Ledford competes in the 1600-meter run. She places 4th and hits a new personal record with a time of 5 minutes 37.69 seconds.
My mile time has not been that great in the past, so it feels really great to be able to PR. I knew at practices I had been focusing on distance a little more, so I knew it was going to be a good one.
Ledford also breaks a national record today in the javelin. Her best throw reaches 13.62 meters. The Carl Junction girls pick up a few first-place finishes. In the 100-meter hurdles, Allie Montez blows out the competition. She crosses the finish line in 15.02 seconds.
It feels good to know that, even though I didn't have a good race, I still won, which is very encouraging. It makes me super excited for when I do have a good day, and so I win by even more. And it's very encouraging considering that state is coming up.
And the Carl Junction girls 4x100-meter relay team wins today. The Bulldogs take first place with a time of 51.39 seconds.
Now, the Joplin boys took home first place as a team. The Webb City boys placed 3rd, and the girls come in 2nd. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
The labor shortage is putting people's lives at risk in rural areas, many of them anyway. In fact, the National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians says its teams are in crisis. Fox News multimedia reporter Mills Hayes shows us how the pandemic and labor shortages are stressing EMS services and delaying care.
Ambulance services are having a hard time finding qualified staffers, and for those who rely on volunteers, it can be even tougher. Here in Mountain Lake, Minnesota, they can get anywhere from a few calls per day to a few calls per week. The closest hospital is 11 miles away, so having an ambulance is the difference between life or death. Mountain Lake, Minnesota is home to just over 2,000 people.
It's just a nice, quiet little town.
And local ambulance director Emily Kunkel is one of them.
My real job is accounting.
But their emergency medical service providers are all volunteers.
It's hard to get people to want to give up their own free time to volunteer to do something.
Alan O'Bannon has been volunteering for over 40 years.
There aren't as many jobs in town that people can just break away from.
The state of Minnesota requires them to have 2 people on call 24/7, and that's gotten tough.
Sometimes hard to fill the schedule because a lot of people don't work in town.
The National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians warns we could see a domino effect.
If the rural area starts to collapse in healthcare, which it is in certain areas, that has an effect on everywhere else in healthcare.
Dave Edgar is the assistant EMS chief in West Des Moines, Iowa, which uses employees, not volunteers. But the city of nearly 66,000 people can't find enough workers for its 7 ambulances.
Now we have 5 ambulances, which means those rural hospitals where we would go out and help transfer those patients in, we have less ability to do that. It's a recipe that's setting up to really be a collapse of the system when you can't have ambulance response for an area, or it takes 30 or 40 minutes to get an ambulance there.
The EMT Association is asking Congress to extend Medicaid and Medicare funding for ambulance services. In 2022, rural areas received about $7.5 million for recruitment, retention, and education for their ambulance services. And in 2023, they are hoping to get about $20 million. In Mountain Lake, Minnesota, Mills Hayes, Fox News.
Coming up, it's almost the weekend, so gonna see what new movies are coming to the big screen, also at home streaming. A magical prequel, based on true story drama, and many streaming options this week. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with a look at new releases.
I imagine that you're all wondering why you find yourselves here.
Wizards, witches, and muggles go on a mission to save the wizarding world in the Harry Potter prequel, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, in theaters nationwide.
I'm praying for you, Bill. Don't you dare!
Also in theaters, the based on a true story drama Father Stu, with Mark Wahlberg as the boxer turned priest.
Can you move, please?
In time for Earth Day, Apple TV Plus has It's the Small Things, Charlie Brown.
Anything is different!
Also on Apple TV Plus, the Fable anthology Roar, with 8 women's stories led by stars, including Nicole Kidman and Cynthia Erivo.
Roar.
Glad to finally meet you. Prime Video debuts the first 2 episodes of the supernatural mystery Outer Range with Josh Brolin.
I don't have much right now.
Peacock brings the Craig Robinson-led comedy Killing It.
Who are you texting, Ken?
The Kardashians premiere their new series on Hulu.
You have to choose, Kayla.
Netflix adds the horror flick Choose or Die, about a coder who unleashes a hidden curse in an 80s survival horror game.
This sleepy sloth.
Plus, the 5-part docuseries Our Great National Parks, narrated by former President Barack Obama.
The story's about to break.
Sienna Miller and Rupert Friend lead the streamer's drama series Anatomy of a Scandal, about a woman whose life unravels when her parliamentary minister husband has an affair, then is accused of rape and put on trial.
I want a ring on this finger.
And the new Netflix #1, a reality show all about making a tie-the-knot decision, The Ultimatum. Some of many choices for those looking to make that binge-watching commitment. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us as always. Going to leave you with video of the world's tallest family, according to Guinness records. The 5 members in Minnesota, an average of 6 feet 8 inches. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.